We had an amazing production designer, Mark Freeborn, who everyone will know from his extraordinary work on Breaking Bad, amongst other things, but Bates Motel, but particularly obviously Breaking Bad. We wanted it to feel, the series to feel very grounded, so we were shooting in Vancouver, we had an amazing location manager, and more than I think most shows you've done, we were just out on the road the entire time.
So didn't build any sets.
Yeah, no.
You found a house?
Yeah, absolutely.
What was it that drew you to that?
It was the windows for me, and the fact that there was great windows. Actually, I wanted to live in the house. It was the windows, the light, it backed onto some great trees. It felt quite isolated, really atmospheric.
What was it like to have so many British Hectors playing Americans on the show? Like John and James Sprain and young Millie. I mean, what's it like to have all these British actors on set? Did it feel like almost a British show?
For me, I've learned that when I'm sad, I feel gutted. When the script is bad, it's a dog's dinner.
Dog's dinner. No scripts. Dog's dinner.
A bunch of football terms that I don't remember.
Right. Mr. Morgan, can I ask you this, please? Do you miss the X-Files as much as I do?
Oh.
And is it just me, or is there a distinct DNA from the X-Files in Intruders?
Well, I hope that the things that Jim Wong and I did there are just things that Jim Wong and I do. And so I'm sure he's bringing a lot of that over to American Horror Story, and just like the way you try to look at what frightens people or what,
Yeah, I get that same feeling. It's like that same sort of, pit of despair but enjoyment at the same time when I'm watching the trailers for Intruders that I got watching episodes of X-Files, and I mean that in the most complimentary of ways.
Well, thank you. That is, that show, you always go, because when you work on a show, you remember you're up at 3 in the morning, or that this one didn't go well, or whatever. But very proud of that show, and I think that there are, and again, Mark Freeborn worked on Millennium, which is the show that we went on after X-Files, and we all have that kind of, idea of what we're after.
Will we learn pretty quickly, like, who the Intruders are, where they came from, are they the alien origin, are they,
the series is based on the novel by Michael Marshall Smith, The Intruders, and it's a kind of psychological thriller, a very big kind of paranormal piece that asks the question about if we could live multiple lives, what would that do to us? So really, it's the mythology, the underlying mythology is that there are two souls within all of us. And if your second troll gets triggered, there is then a battle between the two souls in each body for control. And so on one level, we're looking at if you're married and your wife is suddenly behaving weirdly, she's eating different things, she's listening to different music, she goes missing, what is happening there? And at the other extreme, we are, I guess, looking at the big X-Files questions and the big questions of the genre, which is what happens if there's a secret society behind the scenes controlling reincarnation. What does that do? Should they be allowed to do that?
And
Do you have any comic book collections or sci-fi stuff in your house?
Do I have a comic?
He can barely get out of his house for the comic books.
No, I'm not like, there was I grew up in upstate New York. My brother and I had a huge collection, so we moved to San Diego. And parents out. We're not taking those up with us. And then in the 80s, all the Frank Miller stuff, I have all that, from 86 or whatever that came out.
And where do you keep it in your house?
I'm not telling you, you'll find it. It's in my garage. Yeah, I have where I write and everything. My wife's around here somewhere. That goes in your area. So it's up there.
Like a bookcase kind of?
No, it's they're in boxes and in plastic wrappers.
I have some Doctor Who props, and when I left the show, some of the craft departments made me some things that are in my house and frightened my little boy now.
Well, last time I saw you, I think was there with David and Russell.
Yes, exactly.
I see you brought Mr. Sim with you.
Of
Any
course,
other?
it would have been rude not to have brought Mr. Sim with me.
Any other Doctor Who or Torchwood alumni you might try to bring into the show?
Oh, I'd like them all to come. I'd like them all to come. I saw Billie Piper last week because she's in a play in London at the National Theatre, and that was just lovely. I haven't seen her for ages. And we were talking earlier today that when we were in Vancouver filming Intruders, there was one day when John Sin was filming with us, David Tennant was on Victoria Island, and we were going to a meeting, and it was dark, and I heard this voice in the streets shouting, "Julie!" And it was John Barrowman, who is in Vancouver for Arrow, so it felt really strange. The world felt very small and very marvellous.
In your house, do you have the life-size?
I don't have anything life-size.
she has
That would be
guitars, that's how we
bad.
got
That
there.
would be bad.
Just that tendency.
It's scattered. I'm currently renovating my house. It's all in storage, but normally it's kind of scattered, mostly on high shelves, so my little boy can't get his fingers on it.
If you don't mind, I have a question for both of you. You have young Millie Brown, who's only 9 years old, but she has a talent beyond her years. I mean, what's it like working with such a young person who seems to be so incredibly talented? I mean, especially for her age, but at any age.
She did 2 episodes of Once Upon a Time in Wonderland. She's never done a school play. Never, and there was a very tough scene to do, and Eduardo Sanchez was back east, was the thing we added. So I was directing it with her, and I'm like, okay, you have to cry, but we have to see your face. And she was just like, okay, let's go. Let's do it. And we're at the monitor. The performance, you just stop, being a producer or anything, and just go.
But she didn't need time between takes. She was just on action. She was just crying, and then when the scene was over, she was just normal.
And judging by the trailers alone, she's just
amazing.
incredible.
She's
I mean, she really
And
is.
she's playing she's possessed by a 63, 70-year-old man, basically a Joe Pesci type character. And she just pulls it off really great. And I didn't answer your question. It was wonderful. Everybody was very polite.
Yes.
John, I've never been on a show where the actor hung out on set and talked to everybody. It was just like, they do their stuff and they go back to the trailer, and then when you're ready, you bring them back out. But he hung out there, and
We are very polite.
Yeah. And you were familiar with his other work in the Doctor Who.
especially
And state
State
of
of Play.
play.
And,
Miss Julie, working on shows on both sides of the pond, as they say, how is it different over here than, say, when you were with Doctor Who and Torchwood? Are there a lot of basic differences, or is it pretty much
You
similar?
definitely, it's true to say, get better food in America and Canada. The craft services is significantly enhanced. I would be really deprived back in the UK now. Look, it's the same wherever you go. You can walk onto any set, I think, and you can always say, oh, that's the gaffer. You recognise them instantly from what they're wearing and what they're carrying. So there's certain similarities. I think the size of the crews in North America are bigger than the UK. But when you're on a show that's happy, which Intruders was, and people believe in what they're doing, it feels like anything else you've done before. It's lovely, really lovely. The home, the Whelan home. You really like that home, don't you? No, it's good. What have we missed on the home?
on Jackson.
Yeah.
Well, it's very, it's all, the whole house is floor to ceiling windows. And it kind of became symbolic of what's going on with them. It was like very shell-like. It allowed us to, we were very conscious that through the episodes, as things from episode 1 to 8, as things are getting bad, it gets darker. So episode 5 through 8, they're just visually, we're really trying to do the paranoid movies from the 70s, and it just allowed us to have a really noir, shadowy, that feeling that someone's looking in on the people, and there's trees around, and we're really Michael Marshall Smith really. There was a real character in his novel, and he comes out of his head. If we were a feature, we would have built it specifically to what Michael had is really wonderful.
It's not a spoiler to say the house goes on a journey. It starts, but it's very pristine when it starts. It's very designed, and then as the story gets darker, as it becomes more creepy, the house disintegrates. So it's please keep watching all 8 episodes for the journey of the house.
You mentioned how it's based on a book series. How true to the books are you staying? Or you keep a lot from it?
Well, when they gave me the book, I read it. I'm like, yeah, we're doing the book, and we have. It got pulled up. The last 4 episodes we veer a bit and then kind of roll back, but the novelist who's been involved with us really encouraged that, because we're really respectful and really admired what he did, and so he's kind of helped us along.
He came to the first read through. He read all the scripts. It was really lovely.
Have you ever been in front of the camera? You
Well, other than the room we just came out of.
no, but I mean, as an actress.
Oh no, terrible. I couldn't walk and talk at the same time. Absolutely awful. I did drama at school and I was absolutely appalling. I was in the same drama class as Michael Sheen, and he was the one that could act, and I was not.
What were some of the influences? Because Mira mentioned Hitchcock, and you mentioned Rosemary's Baby and The Exorcist in your intro of the show. What were the how did they influence?
Mira keeps saying that Hitchcock would be drawn to this, but I don't know if he would because he didn't believe in ghosts. He never did that kind of movie. Rosemary's Baby and The Exorcist fall into that thing I mentioned before. They're more. It's interesting to show Rosemary's Baby with my kids. It's kind of about women's rights. I mean, it's not. In the '60s, she cut her hair short. That was like a big scene. Oh my God, And so those movies of that era that were very paranoid, that people are looking in. I mean, we're talking about reincarnation and secret societies, but there's really we're trying to being watched. There's other lives watching you, and a lot of humor that we don't understand, and that's a lot of the stuff that we're trying to tell.
So it's really just a show about the NSA, then, right?
No, not at all. I think they're wonderful.
Well, it's one of the biggest challenges is weather. So when we turned up for week 1, this is a show that was filming from January. Was it January? February to June, and you want some consistency of weather because your schedule is obviously quite like a jigsaw puzzle. And day 1, snow, 3 feet of snow. So we had a crew outside that house, sweeping the snow off the roof because is the snow going to be there the following day? You can't, you don't want to be tied to. So that is weather. The things you can't control. You want to look after the neighbours. You want to be very respectful of it's a circus coming to their homes. It's everything you'd imagine about inconveniencing people.
I love that. And you want to mention specifically where you live in New York. Should we say London?
I live in LA now.
Oh, okay. And that's where you're renovating the home.
Yes.
And since we're here at Comic-Con, are you doing any cosplay-wise? What would you want to dress up as?
I want to be either Rose Tyler from Doctor Who, because I always wanted to be her, or I want to be a Ninja Turtle because my little boy loves the Ninja Turtles. So one or the other. Who do you want to be?
I don't know. I said before Charlton Heston in Planet of the Apes, but no, everyone was horrified at the thought of me running around in a loincloth.
Like at one fawning moment, just a statement. I want to say that you two guys have been involved in some of my favorite shows of all time.
Thank you.
I just had to say that when I had the opportunity.
Thank you. Please watch.
And believe me, I will.
Take you guys to the next stage.
You couldn't stop me from watching.
Thank you.
And if you ever want to have your home feature, that's when
She has to have it done first.
Yeah, I know. Thank you.
With 18 million subscribers. No, but we'll do a whole thing about the behind the scenes of your home.
Okay, thank you.
We're actually going over here.
Are we moving? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time and your generosity. I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
Very
enjoy.
kind of
Thank
you.
you.